LLB 3 years. Same first viva question. Subject Law of Tort. Paper number 3. Long broad answer question. Write a detailed note on justification in the law of torts. Answer. Justification of the law of tort. The meaning of the justification of the law of tort. In the law of tort, a justification refers to a lawful excuse or defense that allow a person to avoid liability for an act that would otherwise be considered a tort. In other words, even in an act causes harm, defendant can avoid responsibility if they prove it was legally justified. Purpose of justification: to protect a certain lawful act done in good faith or under authority, to ensure that liability arises for wrongful acts, not those that law permits or excuse, to balance individuals' right with public interest. Main justification: defenses of law. Quality non-fit injuria consent means to one who consent no harm is done. If a person voluntarily agrees to suffer harm, they cannot later complain of it. Example: a spectator injured during the boxing match cannot shear the boxes he consented to the ordinary risk to the sports. Essential conditions: the consent must be free and informed. The act must be within the scope of consent. Inevitable accident: when an injury occurred without the negligence and could not have been avoided even with a reasonable care. Example: a driver suffers a sudden heart attack and loses control of the car, injuring the pedestrian. The act may be excused as an inevitable accident. Act as a God. Phase measure refers a natural forces so expected and irresistible that human foresight and prudence cannot prevent the damages. Example: floods, lightning and earthquake, etc. Railway company is not liable for loss of goods destroyed by unforeseeable floods. Essentials: the act must be due to the natural causes. It must be unavoidable even with a reasonable care. Fourth one, private defense, self-defense. That is, every person has a right to protect with person or property against unlawful aggressions. Conditions: the force must be reasonable and proportionate to the threat. It must be used only to repeat the immediate danger, not to take revenge. Example: if someone attacks A and A hits back, self-defense causing the minority injury, A is not liable. Necessity: an act done to prevent the greater harm is justified even though it causes the some damages. Example: a doctor performs emergency surgery without consent to save a life, destroying property to prevent the spread of fire. Statutory authority: it an expressly or implicitly authorized by the law. It is not actionable even if it causes harms. Example: noise and inconvenience caused by the construction of a railway under a statutory authority can be a ground for niceness. Conditions: the act must be done strictly within the legal limit, and negligence in exercising the authority can still make the person liable. Plaintiff, the wrongdoer. The plaintiff himself involves an unlawful act controlled by the harm. It may be a detained relief. Example: trespasser injured by owners. Mild defense acts cannot sue for the damages. Summary tables. Justification, meaning defense. Example: violation, non-fit injury, consent to suffer harm, specter at the game injured, infected accident, unavoidable accident, despite care, sudden mechanical failure, act of God, natural, unforeseeable event, earthquake damages. Private defenses: protect or person property, hitting, attack in self-defense. Necessity: preventing the greater harm, breaking a window to save a child. Statutory authority act the permitted by the law of noise, railway constructions. Plaintiff the wrongdoers, plaintiff own fault, trespasser injured by the owner. Conclusion. Justification in the tort law acts as a legal shield that protect involved individuals from the liability for actions that are not truly wrongful. They ensure that the law torts punished fault and negligence, not honest and reasonable conduct performed under the lawful or unavoidable circumstances. Write a short note on absolute liability. Absolute liability short note. Absolute liability is a legal principle under the law of tort that holds the person entity strictly responsible for a harm caused by their actions or activities, regardless of intent, negligence, or fault. This means that even if the defendant took all the possible precautions to prevent the harm, they are still liable for the damage caused. The concept was established in India in the landmark caused by M.C. Mehra versus Union of India in 1987, commonly known as the oleum gas leak case. The Supreme Court evolved this rule and addressed the modern industrial hazards, holding that enterprises engaged in hazardous or inherently dangerous activities have an absolute and non-delegible duty to ensure the under the absolute liability. No exceptions or defenses like act of God or third party fault are allowed. The liable party must compensate the victim fully for the harm caused. These rules ensures the greater protection to the public and promotes the accountability among the industrial and handling dangerous substances. Thank you for watching.